first saw him. How many years have you spoken, or how many years have you been at SQLbits?
5 years now.
Oh, I think as long as I've been going, I've seen you there.
Yeah. That's why I wear this shirt, because that's what most people remember seeing me in.
Uh-oh, what's the shirt? What's the logo on it?
It is actually my SQLbits volunteer shirt, yeah.
Yeah. We should actually mention SQLbits, too, so that we mentioned a community conference out of the UK, and you actually end up seeing a lot of not only just European people there, but people come over from America in order to go to this thing. It's a monster of a conference. It's huge, all kinds of great presentations, and it's legendary for the party. They they have a pre-con day, then a deep dive day, then a community day, and as long as you buy in for the deep dive day, you get a party ticket, and the parties are cheap. No, they're even open to the public right now.
Parties are even open to the people who just come.
Wow. Oh, totally worth it. It's freaking amazing.
Top. Go to the Facebook site and have a look at the pictures from the party, because they are awesome. And in fact, that picture, my demo picture, that was me in a costume. So if you go to SQLbits and they say there's a costume for a party, and you think, oh, I'll be the only one wearing a costume, almost everyone wears a costume.
Yeah, huge variations, and some people put a ton of time and work into theirs. Some people just amble in and just pull on a T-shirt to mirror whatever the theme is. But it is amazing the effort that goes into some of these costumes. Steampunk was my favorite year.
Steampunk was a good year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Stig costume, of course. I think you had a lot of fun.
I did. I busted that out last week. I put on my helmet and closet right in here in the office. So every time I go open my closet door to go get, my laptop gear or whatever, wham, there's the Stig staring at me. So that's a ton of someday. And this year Pass has one of the pre-con days is on Halloween. I'm trying to figure out if we can get people to go in because that also means the welcome reception is Halloween, so maybe we can get people to go in costume. Although with the weirdo political environment here, I don't know if I could walk in the Stig and not get tackled. There's someone in an anonymous helmet.
Yeah,
absolutely nuts.
Right,
all right.
I need to run off and sort out a Springer Spaniel who's looking at me through the door.
Oh, that's what I did while you were talking. I went and walked Ernie for a while. So, well, thank you again, sir. Nice job, and have a good one. Have a good weekend.
See you, Rob.
Cheers, Drew. Cheers, Bert.
Adios. So my wife sees. So I go and get out the GoPros for the high altitude single server project. So I go put these GoPros out. And I set them out on the counter. And my wife goes, "What are you doing with those?" And I said, I'm going to loan them to Drew for the high-altitude SQL Server project thing. She said, high altitude? I said, yeah, they're going up in a balloon, and then they're going to come back down. She's like, you're never going to see these again, right? I said, yeah. I said, they've been sitting in the closet for, I don't know, like almost a year, and I haven't really done anything with them. And she goes, just so we're clear, if he breaks them, you don't get to buy another set. She's like, they've been sitting. I said, yep, that's true. I said, I'm not using them. She goes, and you can't use that same money to go buy something else. This is not something where you get a free gadget to exchange.
Tell Erica her confidence in me is inspiring, by the
way. Yes. I think she knows I think she immediately hears whenever a SQL Server geek is going to go do something, she assumes it's someone with the same credentials as me. And if you've ever seen me build or assemble anything before,
well, I mean, I should mention that, this was an idea that kind of came to me in a flash one day, and I literally walked out in the middle of our IT area, and I said, this is something I want to do. And I got two types of reactions. I got people that laughed at me, and then there were people that raised their hands. And the people that raised their hands and said that was cool, there's actually a whole team of people here at IGS that are working with me. So I've got, believe me, I'm fine with soldering things and writing code and spending money, but as far as building the capsule and everything, that's hands off for me right now. So,
how do you even fabricate the capsule? Are they making it out of wood, out of metal?
Okay, so if you look over my this shoulder, there's a little styrofoam cooler in my my director's office back there. That is probably what we're going to use. That's going to be our prototype at least. And then there will be some custom construction that goes into that to hold all the things like secure the accelerometer. And then the other thing that has to like go in there, I'm going to do this without poking my eye out. The thing that we're trying to figure out how to do right now is to track this thing. We're using APRS, which is a amateur radio frequency. So I had to like get my ham radio license to do this.
Oh.
So this little guy right here is a GPS tracker that also transmits its position on 143.33, I think, or I forget the exact frequency. But anyway, this transmits on VHF, and any digipeater that can hear it will relay its position. And what's interesting is, if you go to this website, I'll put it in Slack real quick, you can actually track anybody that's transmitting on that frequency. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't know if my call sign is still going to be on here or not. But if you go here, okay, so this website is a Google Maps integration of APRS data. So basically, anything that's transmitting on here will show up. So the idea is we're going to use this to track our balloon in real time, because as it goes up and the higher it goes, the better the signal is going to be. But the trick is just mounting this dipole antenna in such a way that it'll transmit successfully.
Neat.
So, and it's funny because yes, there's no mention of port 1433, but I did actually get a vanity call sign. I'm KE8SQL. So I did get a vanity call sign, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, funny. Yeah, that's nuts. Brian says in the GoToWebinar chat, he said, styrofoam will expand as pressure decreases.
Yeah, so there's actually going to be, the way I think we're looking at constructing it now, and I say we, I don't really know if this is going to be the final construction, but that's you can't really tell through that glass window, but it's actually pretty thick styrofoam. It was something that somebody shipped ice cream in, and it had dry ice in it at one time, and we did some temperature testing of our sensors, and we got our sensors all the way down to like minus 32 degrees Celsius in that dry ice without it failing, so I was pretty happy about that. But what we're probably going to do is we're probably going to have some holes kind of cored into that thing, and that's what the cameras are going to be looking out of. We're not going to mount the cameras on the outside. So there's actually going to be holes in it looking out, because I've seen other people do something very similar. One popular method for taking pictures and videos of this is people will get old Canon DSLR cameras that you can like basically replace the firmware in, and you can basically put custom firmware on it for still or or stills or different things that you can use the Canons for. So one way of doing this is to go on Craigslist or eBay or something, finding these old Canons and then basically replacing the firmware. Couldn't do that.
I have one of those in my closet.
Yeah.
Wow. And they've got to be heavy too.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is the weight is the biggest factor, and honestly the heaviest thing that's going to be in this thing is the battery that's going to power it, because the number one thing that's going to be a challenge for us to solve is having a battery that performs pretty well when it gets cold. So we are going to have ways to keep things warm inside the capsule, but it's still going to get pretty cold. So we need to make sure our battery performance lasts for the duration of the flight, which then goes back to that original question of, well, how long of a flight is it going to be? So I think as long as we keep the total flight time at 3 hours or less, I think that the batteries will all hold out and we'll have enough storage to record the flight and all that stuff.
If you get to the point where you're putting a dog in there, we need...
So people that I've talked to are like, okay, so this is cool. Let's say, even if we're not successful, we're going to try again, right? If this thing comes, falling down out of nowhere or something breaks, we'll try again. We'll get it till we get it, but we'll get it till we get it. And people have asked me, what's kind of next? I've already had other ideas. So phase 2 will be doing the same thing again, but this time putting a radio receiver on it and writing queries against it as it flies. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool.
Awesome. Okay,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Or amateur satellites. That's another thing. But that would be like a GoFundMe. Yeah.
Whoa.
Like a satellite in low Earth orbit. Yeah. That's been done. Like there's been amateur radio people that have done that.
And so how long do they stay up? Is it like permanent once they get into low Earth orbit, or?
I haven't done a lot of research on it, but obviously that's prohibitively expensive. Like that would be a GoFundMe like type situation there to put something like that up there.
Wow. Yeah, even just running queries against it, because it would be hilarious to see people write insert statements to like leave their name in a guest book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then if we did something like that, we would also look at what are called zero pressure balloons. So this is just a helium balloon, but the zero pressure balloons can stay up for like weeks. So the idea would be put something that they could like fly around the world and like just like this huge like geotagging experiment of people querying it and like inserting statements or writing code against it or something. It would be pretty neat.
Zero pressure balloon. So now I got to see what the mechanics are on this and how this works.
Yeah.
Zero pressure balloon.
It just doesn't burst. Yeah.
It just doesn't burst. You make it sound so easy. It just doesn't burst. It's like writing a reliable SQL server. It just doesn't crash. That's all it is. It's just.
I dare.
Wow.
I dare.
There's
Is the SQL server. I like how he's talking away. I was just curious, the SQL Server instance, is that going to be on the device that's on the balloon, or is the balloon capturing the data and transmitting it to...
So the SQL Server is actually on the balloon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will you not have the data then until you go recover it all?
Back. Right.
Okay, cool.
So phase 1. Phase 2 will be streaming, being able to query it real time while it's up there and getting the data back.
Which I guess requires more battery power because it's going to be talking back.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like I'm no radio expert at all. Like I've just crappy technician ham radio license, but technically, if you kind of get up off the ground, even VHF and UHF transmission is pretty good. But as long as you're within not too far away, you should be able to query it in real time. But Bert, that would be the next thing to do if you query the sensors real time.
Yeah, that's a fun project. I've done some with. They're called RMF69 sensors. I don't know if they'd be good enough for miles of distance. I think people have used them for maybe up to a mile of direct line of sight. But that's really fun if you get to program the actual packet transfer of data.
Yeah, and you can actually, and like this APRS transmitter was an off-the-shelf thing just because there was a lot of things I didn't understand about APRS in general. The packets need to be formed a certain way. There's all kinds of things. So I was like, well, for this first session, for this first go-through, I'll just go ahead and buy this off the shelf. And even building it yourself isn't super cheap. This one was, a couple $100 and whatnot.
Wow.
But this as a first kind of go-around will be good.
That's cool.
Lots of people making cloud licensing jokes in Slack.
Well, our slogan for the project is you put your databases in the cloud. We put one through them. So that's our slogan for the project.
That's nice. That is nice.
But it's surprising. Like you start going down this rabbit hole, and there's just so much that you have to like. Like it's not hard. It's hard, but it's not hard. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to show you.
I'm the presenter. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to show you, now that we're coming up on the launch date, we're in a place where we can start thinking about. Let me if you guys can see that.
It takes a second usually. Did you share your desktop yet? Yeah. Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is there's tools online that you can use to predict where this thing is going to go, right? So, I live over here. Right now I'm over here in Dublin, right? I'm right about here. If you can see my cursor, so right about
Takes
here.
A few seconds to catch up.
Okay, so we're here in Dublin, Ohio. We're right off Emerald Parkway here. So, finding a place to launch here is tricky because obviously I don't want it to land in a densely populated area, right? And when I say land, right? What we're thinking of doing then is going a little further out west, out in Indiana, about a 2-hour drive away is kind of what we're thinking right now. And you can take these calculators and, as you start to get into the project and you think about, okay, how much is this thing going to weigh? What kind of balloon are you using? How much lift are you going to generate, i.e. how much helium you're going to use? You can start to put in predictors. And the interesting thing about this is you can only really use about a 2 or 3 day lead time on weather, because the upper altitude winds can shift so much about where this thing is going to go. So if, let's say I was going to launch next Tuesday, which is a week away from our proposed actual launch date, right? I can run this simulation, and these things are pretty cool, where it'll actually kind of give you flight models to predict where this thing is going to go based on the variables that you kind of have to figure out on your own. So this will take a second or two to run, but it should show us.
Someone wrote this.
Yeah.
It's one thing that you have enough of a need that you figure out how to do this all with a spreadsheet. Then there's another thing where you're actually going to write the code. Then you do it as a web-hosted app with whoever's maps, either Bing or Google. Google Maps integrated in with it.
Yeah.
College students with all this free time. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of different planners, so we're looking at multiple models, and this thing takes in weather forecast data from NOAA and all of this stuff, and it gets pretty crazy. So part of the reason we want to go out here in Indiana is it's also a lot flatter. So because the thing is, this thing's going to start coming down one way or another. I mean, gravity wins, but we want it to land someplace where we're going to get a signal. Now the other thing, this thing, the maps integration will get us close, but then also having kind of a handy talkie that'll show us and be able to kind of hone in on where the signal's coming from will be crucial to finding it as well. But this is a couple of different models, and even from the time I ran this afternoon, this data has changed.
Wow.
So yeah, so what you're looking at here is this runs about 9 or 10 different simulations, and from this launch point, it kind of will drift and then loop back. And then these yellow markers for each simulation are the burst, right? So the balloon goes up and it's going to fly around a little bit, and then it's going to burst. So if I click on one of these, it's going to say, in this particular simulation, in this model, it's estimating it's going to burst at 34,000 meters, which, again, I'm bad at math, 34,000 meters to feet. That's like almost 100,000 feet, I think.
Get out of here.
Yeah, 111,000 feet.
Wow.
Right? With those criteria, and then these blue lines are telling you where it's going to land. And I really like this one because you can get a heat map that kind of helps you predict the area where it's going to come down. So using stuff like this is crucial for our planning. Now, there's lots of different models and there's lots of different ways of predicting this, and we're trying to kind of aggregate all that data to figure out where it's going to go and what it's going to do. And it's proving to be challenging. So.
Wow, so 100,000 feet. I suck at math, American. 20 miles up?
I think 18, let's see. So,
yeah.
Just do this here. Oops. Yeah. Come on, Drew.
It assumes that we're smart enough to be in metric.
Yeah, about 20 miles. Yeah, close to 21.
Essentially, you're throwing something up in the air 21 miles and guessing where it's going to land at. That's nuts.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing is the system board that I showed earlier has internal storage, but it also has an MMC slot. So the goal is to back up to that, because if anything's going to survive impact, it's probably going to be a small memory card. So that'll probably we'll be running backups. This will have we will be using SQL agent to run transaction log backups in case things go wrong. So we will be able to get some data back.
Wow. Dave asks a fairly natural question. What company does Drew work for, or in which industry? Either way.
Okay, so I work for a company, IGS, and we're based here in Dublin, Ohio, and we are a natural gas, solar energy, home protection type company. And look, I have a day job. This is all stuff I'm doing kind of in my free time as I sit here on a webcast on a Friday. But I work with. We all do, right? But I work with some incredibly talented and smart people, and there are people that, I am relying on for this. And, I just the kind of company where if I go to people and I say, hey, working on this in our spare time, they're all for it. They think it's pretty neat. They encourage that type of creativity and freedom. And, like I said in my blog post about it, I kind of hit the career lottery with where I work. So, to say that they're enthusiastic about this is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. It's also good for team building. It's good for, you want to see your employees excited to come to work and excited to love what they do. So I totally get it. Tara and Richie and Eric, if you're watching, don't get any ideas. You get back to writing code. Wow. So Bert, Bert, I have to ask a follow-up question from this morning. So, Volkswagen, 250,000 miles. What made you go, all right, now is the point where I'm going to sell it?
So, I was a little misleading. Actually, this weekend, I made the decision to sell. I have until October to do it. So.
Now, why until October?
Because that's when Ohio has, in some counties, has this thing called the e-check program, which is basically emissions.
Yeah.
My car is not passing.
Yeah.
In the past, you can get an exemption if you pay some money to get your car fixed enough, but at the point that my car is in, the entire exhaust needs to be replaced. And I've done all the repairs on my car myself, which I'm pretty proud of, but I don't know why. I'm just not interested in doing any exhaust work.
Yeah.
So it's I have until October to kind of figure out what am I doing. I'm actually going to test drive a bunch of cars tomorrow. So.
Are you in northwestern Ohio?
Yeah, I'm in Cleveland.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because I know that like down here we don't have emissions. It's only like in Cincinnati and Cleveland.
Yeah,
so,
it's terrible.
So Drew, you interested in a Volkswagen? You got?
No,
Yeah.
It's funny because like I have that S4 now, and I vowed to myself I would never own another Volkswagen because I had a terrible experience owning a Volkswagen back in the day.
What was that?
Oh, I got a lemon is what it came down to. Yeah.
Oh, I've loved mine. I mean, I'm going to be looking at getting another one, so we'll see. It's been awesome.
Now, what? So, if you love working on, well, I guess so many questions. What got you started with loving working on cars?
Oh, I was just cheap. I mean.
Okay. It wasn't like
going
a
to school
parents kind of thing.
No, I mean, I guess it started out in high school. Definitely not my parents. In high school, we just wanted to put an awooga horn into our car, those old-timey things, so we can drive by the golf course and like blast on that as someone's mid-swing. I guess
the more I hear about you, the more I like you.
Yeah, I guess it stemmed from that. Yeah, and then after that, it just became getting your car fixed is really expensive, and I'm too cheap. And nowadays it's you got YouTube for everything. It's not to say you got to be smart, and there's some things that you really need to pay attention to be able to do safely. Don't put your car up on jack stands if you don't know how to do it. It's a serious danger there. But yeah, I mean, if you're motivated, it's you just got to figure it out and do it.
It's amazing. I got started on it with my parents. My dad worked at a Goodyear shop and was always fiddling around with cars, and they're just amazing. When you know the basic mechanics of how they work, they're just amazing. There's so much cool engineering that goes into any given car. But now, so the next question I was going to ask is, so you're going for, it sounds like you're going to go for another new one as opposed to an old one. I'm surprised you wouldn't go for an older car.
It crossed my mind. I was looking into all these nice, BMWs from the 80s, and
you're spending a fortune, though. Yeah.
Yeah, or even from the 90s, a nice Mercedes from the 90s, just something, that had low miles, is from the desert where I don't have these rust problems like I would have here. But then I just think about all the rubber components that are going to have to be changed, and
so it truly is not a love affair with cars with you. It is a cheap thing.
I do love cars. I wish I had room for a third car. That's the thing. That's the thing that drives me nuts. It's my daily driver. Anytime I do a car repair, it's from 6 to 9 p.m. Or I got to fit it on a weekend, and it makes it stressful.
Man, I was blogging about like all the spare cars I would love to buy if I had like 50, 5 garage bays and $50,000. Because it sucks when you go down to work in the morning. If you want to go somewhere, you put the key in and nothing happens. You're like, damn it.
Yep.
Where if it's on a Saturday morning and you're just going out for milk and you're like, oh, okay, let's go fix this. This would be a fun adventure.
Exactly.
Man, do you watch? Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think Aaron was talking about it earlier. He sometimes misses that that pager duty at 3 a.m. putting out fires. It's the same thing. If you got to wake up at 3 a.m. to do it, kind of stinks. If you're doing it on your own on Stack Overflow or whatever, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, totally. It's very Zen-like. Daniel Hutmacher says, thanks for a great day of presentations, folks. I'm out. Adios. Yeah, even like playing around with a golf cart or a lawnmower, just like those little bitty engines, I find that totally therapeutic. Doesn't smell very good, but yeah, totally therapeutic. And I'm not allowed to have anything that requires tools. My wife made me sell all my tools when we sold our house. She's like, you're never allowed to do that again. I was not a good handyman. Not in any shape or form. All right, folks, we got like half an hour before Sunil does his thing. I saw, he was here and he bailed back out. He's like, what the hell are these people talking about? So I'm going to go run to the restroom, go make a fresh pot of coffee, and I will be right back in 5-6 minutes. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in a few.
All right.
Oh, and there's Aaron.
There's Aaron.
I've always wanted to. I think it's like a BMW. Would love to have that. It's just like a. What I'm talking about.
Is anyone else getting crazy audio from Aaron? Yeah.
Do I?
I mean, Aaron, you sound like a robot, and like a vinyl record that just keeps, getting pulled back and skipping right now.
Is this...
I don't know what happened there. You were good earlier. Drew, are you still there? Is your audio working good?
Oh yeah, mine's working good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was just on mute. I was talking on mute. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I was saying that I wonder if he's streaming Orange Is the New Black and that's eating all his bandwidth.
The
new season today.
It's still bad.
It's still bad, Aaron. It's still bad.
I hope someone records this and makes like a music remix with.
It's my new ringtone. It's my new ringtone.
That's. Yeah, I would love to have a third vehicle, a non-daily driver, to just be able to work on without the stress of having to get it working before the next day. I mean, that'd be a dream. Maybe one day here. Very cool.
Oh, so what's everybody getting into this weekend? Anything fun?
Car shopping.
Oh yeah.
Car shopping.
You looking for another? So I didn't hear if you said this or not. Are you looking for another Volkswagen, or do you want to look for something else?
I will. I'll take a look at Volkswagens again. I've just had really good experience with mine. Ideally, I'd like another Golf. Ideally, I'd like a GTI, or why not shoot for a Golf R or something like that. But I'm not gonna spend that much there.
Yeah.
I'm going the used car cash and carry route. Let me keep fixing this thing up for the next 15 years.
So where in Cleveland exactly are you? What part?
I'm on the west side, so I'm right by the airport.
Okay.
In Fairview Park. It's a tiny little town, if that helps.
So
if your balloon, comes up here, if all the crazy wind day, just give me a call. I'll go pick it up for you.
There was one predictor one day where we ran it back when we were using some crazy numbers that put it in Lake Erie. I was like, how does that even happen?
So it's styrofoam, right? So at least it's going to float if you need to do a water retrieval.
We hope. One of the guys I work with is a crazy kayaker, so he said he's bringing his kayak the day we launch, just in case. So,
I'm sure you've gone through disaster scenarios. Obviously, a water landing would probably be bad. Going through the roof of someone's house would probably be bad. But what else have you thought of?
I don't think it would go through anybody's roof. Now, if it makes a thud, it's not going to crater, but there's going to be styrofoam and bits of sensors everywhere. It's going to be a bad day if it lands on somebody. I'm not going to lie. That is a concern. But that's why we're going out in the middle of nowhere, just in case.
And
So-
Indiana, is that just, you said because it was flat and closer to you? I mean, there's plenty of rural Ohio.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, my first requirement is flat, right? Flat and like sparsely populated. My second requirement is not forested. Like, I don't want it to get stuck in a tree.
Yeah. You want
So-
cornfields.
Right. I want cornfields. I don't want like valleys, because like if it drifts up to the northeast, like north central Ohio, it's it gets to be a little hilly, which if this thing goes into a valley, I'm going to lose radio tracking. So I want it to land somewhere flat. So that's the hope.
That's cool. That's a very neat project. I've only done stuff with radio once. It was like a home monitoring system where I had like sensors for my sump pump, and they would all communicate via radio transmitters back to a Raspberry Pi to kind of monitor the data.
It's actually because I getting my ham radio license is always something I wanted to do, and like when I first looked into it back in the day, like it was a whole Morse code requirement, and I just couldn't learn Morse code. I don't know what was wrong with me. I probably still couldn't learn it, but now that requirement isn't there anymore. And now that I have my technician license, I can broadcast pretty much freely on UHF, VHF, like FM stuff, and you can do some really neat stuff with transmitting data packets to and from locations. It's actually pretty easy to do. So I've been looking at that for like future projects, because I think it'd be neat to set up some devices kind of around and let them report data back to me, like motion sensors, stuff like that. Yeah. And like the local radio club, they did something neat. There was a triathlon kind of in a remote part of Indiana that they hired them to basically broadcast like over television. So at the start and finish line, they had cameras set up. It was like real time broadcasting of where people were. It was pretty neat.
That's cool. That's real neat.
Yeah.
Brent and Rob are back now. Look at that.
Ta-da!
Hey.
Oh, especially if there's cars. Woo! Aaron says, now let's see, all right, we got all kinds of car talk. Aaron says, I'm getting my car in the next few weeks, torn between an X4, X5, and the new Land Rover Velar. Oh, what's the pros and cons of each one? What's got you torn there? Are we going to mute himself?
We should mention Aaron's audio, not great right now.
Oh, okay, all right.
Aaron's turned into the Terminator, basically.
Yeah. Whoops. All right, so much for that. Oh, man, between an X...
Yeah.
It's got a beat to it, at least. Aaron remixes. Man, I don't know. Range Rover's classy, and the BMW's racy. The X4 looks really good. I've been really impressed with it. It's a sharp-looking car, but that Range Rover Velar, that is amazing, too.
I've always tended to stay away from Land Rover, Range Rover, Mini. I just haven't heard good things from a reliability standpoint about any of those. Long-term reliability, I should say.
Please tell me you know about Doug DeMuro.
I feel like I've heard the name.
Oh, man. So Doug DeMuro is a car blogger who originally got famous by buying cars at CarMax, which will sell you a nearly unlimited warranty, where they'll cover everything bumper to bumper during a fairly long amount of time for fairly inexpensive prices, which is where I got my car, too, and got the add-on warranty. But Doug went in knowing that Range Rovers are notoriously unreliable, so he bought a Range Rover, I can't remember if it was a Sport or what it was, got the warranty, and then did blog posts every time it failed, and every time he had to go to the dealer. And I forget what, he spent like $2,000 on the warranty and had $20,000-$30,000 worth of repairs done. It was just obscene, and it's so awesome. He has such a good attitude about it. It's very funny. It's not like saying Range Rover sucks. He just has a great time with it. But Doug DeMuro, very funny.
He loves CarMax. I love when he takes some kind of sporty car there or a classic car, and they give him some crazy lowball offer. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's fun. It's a nice buying experience. The problem for me is they never have the cars I want. You know, like I want really fun stuff, and they're too smart to carry those unreliable things. John says, Jan, is probably the pronunciation, says, Velar actually means I can't make up my mind in Swedish. Whoa. Okay. All right. Crazy. Fun, Jeff. Fun like a Toyota Corolla. I don't know, dude. Not exactly fun. Yeah, so I'm done buying cars until I move out into the middle of nowhere because Chicago is a hellhole. Man, it's just bad roads, big huge potholes. You can't go fast. You can't make any kind of distance whatsoever. Well, I thought he was going to show something related to a pothole there.
Oh no, that's the cat. He's
Invoke cat.ps1.
He's looking for food. He wants attention.
Me too. I'd like
Wants
some
his dinner.
Yeah, sounds good to me. We at our house we've developed a tradition on Friday afternoons where we go for adult lemonade. There's a Nando's Peri Peri near us that does vodka lemonade. Gene says, I think test-driven design equals unit tests and behavior design behavior. So here, TDD, to me, TDD, test-driven development, means you write the test before you write the code. And that's almost like a philosophy that if you really understand how the tests work, then you're going to understand how the code works. But it doesn't have to have anything to do with unit tests necessarily. I mean, like, you're going to write unit tests if you do TDD, but you can do unit tests without doing TDD. You can write your unit tests after you write your code. I'm the worst. Go ahead.
But having tried to do that for DBA tools, it is tough. That's a really hard way of doing it. It's a far better. It's far better to write your test and then write the code to fix it and go the way through. And the advantage, really, I think the best way of seeing the advantage is not thinking about that bit of code that you're writing, but thinking about the next guy or girl who comes along who's going to be improving your code because they want to do something else, and they write their improvements, and then if they run those tests and they fail, they can see the test. Oh, you needed to do that as well. Right. So it's that sort of regression thing, making sure stuff's still going to carry on doing what you expect. That's been the biggest benefit that I've seen in doing it. But I would really recommend you write your tests first and then your code, rather than trying to backport them in. Certainly PowerShell.
Yeah. In a perfect world, if people would do T-SQL tests, then that's the big struggle, is getting them to actually do it. But it's so frustrating as a performance tuner that someone will call me in to make things go faster, and it's a stored procedure, and it's got 40 parameters. And I'm like, okay, so I need to know the different parameters and the values they're going to return. And they're like, can't you figure that out? Hell no. You have all these edge cases built into this, 1,000-line long stored procedure, all these crazy branches in it. And sometimes you'll see a block of code at the top of a stored procedure saying, here are a few common call patterns, but you still don't know what they're supposed to produce and what accuracy looks like. Yeah, us database people are not good at that. And it's shocking how good developers are compared to how bad database people are. Mike says only 1,000 lines. We had a shop bring us 50,000 line stored procedures a while back, and they're like, so how long will it take to tune? And I'm like, well, first send me the documentation. Well, the code is self-documenting. No. Not at 50,000 lines. Jeff says edge cases are the best. It gives me something to jump off of. Exactly. See, Aaron, the Velar is beautiful. There is no arguing that. But are you the guy who would drive a car that beautiful? That's
the Range Rovers are so comfy, though. I had a Mark I original Range Rover a few years ago, and it still is the comfiest car I've ever driven. So good.
They're beautiful, though. I mean, it's so I used to have a Volvo C70, which was the first C70s that were very beautiful lines. I forget Tom's last name that designed them, but utterly gorgeous car. And every time I got out of the car, I felt underdressed. Felt like I should have been wearing nicer clothes. I should have had a better haircut. It was just embarrassing how bad I felt when I got out of that thing. And when I sold it, or Jeff says, or at least pants. When I sold that and I switched back to Aaron says, Andy just asked me if you were calling my wife ugly. No, if it's your wife driving it, that's a different story. Like, women, they can step out of those and it makes sense. But guys, us guys with our tech conference T-shirts, we step out of a Range Rover Velar and there are people like, did you park that for someone? Or Feel totally
let
awkward.
me speak to your father.
Exactly. Yeah, put on a backwards baseball cap, and if you still feel like you should be driving that car, then yeah, they're heartbreak. They even the colors are gorgeous. The color choices on the Range Rover list are just like tasteful. Yeah, very sharp cars. I am probably also the only person in here who likes the Land Rover convertibles. Rover Evoque. I'm going to throw a picture of it in here. Let's see. That's probably as good as it's going to get. It's the Evoque 4-door or the Evoque 2-door.
Oh.
You like that?
No.
I love it. Oh, I love it. It has, and I saw my first one in motion through here in this neighborhood with the top down the other day, and it was even the white color. And I'm like, oh, I love it. It has. I love cars that have no reason for existing, that don't make any sense whatsoever. You're not going to take that off road. You're not going to, yep, everybody's all over the nope. Well, what don't you like about that? It's amazing.
Everything.
Oh. Oh, see, I love convertibles, and I'm a tall guy, so I like getting into, tall cars, like Denali's, that big Escalades. I would totally have an Escalade in a minute. Looks like a Volkswagen Rabbit. It does kind of look like a Volkswagen Rabbit. Now that you mention it, yeah, like the 80s one.
Better.
Listen, now see, that would be an excellent car too. Not the daily driver. That's the tough part. But yeah. Oh, the Barbie convertibles from the 80s. Those are excellent cars. Now today you can drive them. I don't want to know how old you are because you're probably young enough that you weren't around then. But like now, old guys like me and Rob, we could drive that without any irony. 80s Volkswagen cars.
Yep.
So, Jim, yeah.
Seeing as Doug's there, apparently I've got to go, you shall not pass! Sorry, I should have warned you guys with headphones on. But.
See, and it works so well with the pester testing thing. Yeah.
You're not passing anybody in that car.
You're not passing anybody in that. No, because they would catch up to me in order to say, hey, what.
And you wouldn't want to drive it fast anyway. You just want to chill, look out the window, let everybody look at you, going, no, not that car.
It could be so much worse. There was the Nissan Murano Cross Cabriolet.
Oh, right. It was the Nissan. It was like the Nissan. What were they called? They were the Muranos. Now they're the Rogues, right?
Oh no, these were only the Muranos. They stopped making these.
Yeah, I've seen those. My neighbor had one of those. It was very impractical. It was like, here's an SUV that you can't put anything in.
Yeah. And it
stopped making them for a reason. That's
only got worse when the top was up. Oh God. Ooh. Man.
Yeah,
hideous.
But I'm curious though. How can you look at that and say that's hideous? But to me, that doesn't look very different than the Range Rover.
The lines. So if you look at the Range Rover, it's just smooth, straight lines. There's none of this. Nissan overstyles the bejesus out of everything. They got all these swoops and curves, and it looks like it's holding its breath. Just, it's not an attractive car. But that Range Rover, just a sleek, clean lines, not even the lines of a top. Oh, yeah. I would say 99 out of 100 automotive journalists agree with you guys that car is ugly as hell and needs to go. But
what's it look like with the top up? That's what I'm trying to see now. Maybe it looks better. Maybe you could redeem yourself here.
Let's see. We'll see if I can find a picture of that. Oh yeah. So here we go. This will work. This is with the top up.
Too blocky.
The Evoque is kind of blocky. It's kind of car show, futuristic. Yeah, kind of blocky.
I don't mind that as much.
The windows are too narrow. It's sort of squashed that way at the top.
Yeah.
That's all the rage and styling right now. But yeah, I see as a guy who lives in downtown Chicago where I have big nasty potholes and yet I want to drive a convertible. Like, this is great, as opposed to my Jeep. I don't think I have a picture of my Jeep up and around in here. Which is wonderful, but I would just rather take the Jeep, or just rather leave the doors off the Jeep all the time. Why is it that the only picture of my Jeep on the site is it on the trailer? Oh, there's the image address. So there's that guy. That's what I have to deal with in the meantime. Yeah. America. Whoa.
That looks like an older one, Brent. What year is that?
It's 2005. 2005. Okay. They only made that long wheelbase for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks way longer.
Yeah, and all the space is in the rear seat, so it's like you actually have space to take friends along. Now, they still have to contort like some kind of gymnast in order to get into the back, but yeah.
Now, was that before they offered the 4-cylinder, so that's a 6-cylinder?
It is a 6-cylinder, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Love that thing. May it run forever. Whee! Let's see, what else should we talk about? Sunil back yet? Nope, Sunil's not back yet. Sunil's going to come in and just see us talking about cars and all that, and he's going, what did I walk into? Rob, what do you do in your spare time? We've talked to everybody else about what they do in their spare time, with Bert fixing his car.
I play cricket or fly my drone.
So, in a nutshell, how does cricket work? Like in the span of 30 seconds?
It's like baseball, but you run in straight lines. There's 11 players a side.
You run in straight lines. Is there like several bases still, or is there
just two? You have 2 wickets. One they're 22 yards away. Bowler bowls from one end, 6 balls, and then another bowler will bowl from the other end, 6 balls. 2 batsmen hit the ball and run. You get runs. Hit it out to the ground. You get more runs. First side bats until they're all out, and then whatever they get, the second side have to get without getting all out.
And can't the games go on forever?
So there are sort of 3 distinct types. There's a 20-20 match, which will take 3.5 hours, just last 20 overs. You'll have a 1-day game, which will last 8 or 9 hours. And then you have test matches, which is the old-style traditional way of you should play cricket, and they'll last 5 days of 90 overs, which is from about 10:30 till 6.
Now, are people drunk the whole time, or just the last part, or?
When you put Englishmen in the sun and give them alcohol, they get drunk.
I would think it would seem like fairly natural. Oh, people are putting. Don't make us watch YouTube videos of cricket in here. We don't. There's only session. Holy moly! Boy, that's a serious helmet too. Why would they?
The balls are made of cork and leather around the outside, and the fast bowlers will be bowling at 91, 3 miles an hour, and it hurts. I've been hit several times by quick bowlers, and it hurts.
Did you grow up playing it? How'd you get your start, just as a child kind of thing, or?
Absolutely, yeah. And my dad's a primary school teacher, so he would teach the kids after school. And when I was little, I'd rather go and be there with him than go home. So I started playing cricket. I played for the town all the way up, and still play now.
Is it like a volunteer community type? Is it like coworkers that play, or?
There's there's plenty of sort of friendly cricket that goes on. I play league cricket on a Saturday, which I now play in the West Somerset League, which is really just a group of villagers with friendly, generally older men. We play cricket competitively, and then we go to the pub and have a drink and a natter afterwards. It's much more social. When I was 20s, I was playing league cricket where it was a proper sport and things mattered.
Very competitive.
Very competitive, yeah.
Is it physically challenging, or is it? I mean, not to say that baseball isn't, but is it something that you'll only work hard for 5 minutes and then you can coast for 20, or is it?
So you look at it and you think you spend a lot of time just standing around, but actually, I could run 5 or 6 miles in an afternoon when I was fielding, and the bowler might have a 20 pace run up he'll bowl 6 balls in an over, and I could do that for 15 overs, one after the other. So you'd have 1 over of bowling, you'd then have an over not resting, but you fielding. While the guy at the other end bowls, and then you'd have to come back and do it again. So it is quite hard, and bowling particularly is bad on the knees and the back because you're pounding your foot down on concrete hard earth.
So there are 3 things people have tried to explain to me in life that I cannot understand. One is cricket, the other is rugby, and the third is craps. Those are 3 things that have been trying to explain.
Rugby's easy. Because rugby, you understand American football. Rugby's pretty much the same as American football. You got to get the guy from one side to the other, the ball from one side to the other, and touch it down. And there are several different ways of moving around that nobody quite understands. And the referee has a set of rules that most people kind of think they understand, but then we don't. Which to me is exactly like American football.
Is very, especially when it's on TV, all the lags and stops and starts that you have to go through. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense. Now, I'm not ignoring Sunil. He just doesn't have his microphone turned on yet, so I'm like waiting for him to get that. It looks like he's frozen in time there in the webcam. Either that. It's funny. I'm with you on craps too, in that I've learned that maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, and been drinking while I was doing it, and forgotten the next morning. Like, what was the 7-11? And there's a 9. Yeah.
People are just like, blow on these dice, and I do it, and I've been drinking, and then I wake up.
Yeah. And you're broke. Yeah. Yeah. It goes, when it's going well, you can do well for a long period of time, and then when it goes poorly, it just explodes. And he's back again. Hey. It's the fun of working with GoToWebinar for the first time. Doug Lane says that's why Jay Moore gave up on cricket and turned to comedy, because he was drunk. Yeah. No, it's trickier than it looks. What other concepts have been hard that people have tried to explain?
Testing 1 2. Can you hear?
Howdy, we can. There we go.
Hey, okay. I'm moving to Sewell. Okay.
Pedro's in there. That's what it was. All right.
Pedro, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, sir. How's it going?
Oh, good. Pretty fascinating conversation about the balloon and the camera and SQL Server.
Right. That's Drew in his spare time. And you haven't been doing it that long, right? How long have you been working on the project? Like a month?
No, this is something that kind of came up in January, and just kind of plugging away at it and trying to solve problems with whiteboards. And over the past couple months is when the past month and a half really is when things have really picked up, and we've had to buy stuff and build stuff and solder stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sunil, now it's funny, I've seen you on so many videos of product videos and whatnot. So what do you do in your spare time when you're not working at Microsoft?
I do gardening.
Gardening! Oh, all right, cool. Yeah, very zen. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it for the last 10 years, since I got my house.
And I was going to say, if you've been in the same place for that 10 years, I bet you've got the garden exactly the way you want it, and it's gorgeous.
It is changing, but it is actually fun just to see something grow, and so I really like it.
Ah, nice. And you're in Seattle, right? Or Redmond?
Right. Yep. So the good thing about that is the gardening ends in 3 months.
Whoa! Is it only during the summer months, or?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, no, we need to get you out where you can do it year round.
That's right.
Yeah, Seattle is gorgeous.
It is.
So
gorgeous.
You have an awesome title at Microsoft. Tell people about what you do and what your job involves.
Okay. So I guess I'm the only one with gray hair here. So I've been with databases for. Yeah, Drew, that was funny. I've been with databases for 30 plus years. My first 2/3 of my career was involved with development. I was working for Sybase and few startups developing applications. And then I said enough of development, and I wanted to move into a customer-facing organization. And the SQL Server offered me a role in program management, which is basically combining my technical understanding of the product and the database technology and the passion for customer success. So the program manager role was that. So I joined Microsoft, I guess around 2002, fourth quarter, like in October-ish timeframe. And I was involved with 2005 snapshot isolation kind of feature you must know, right? That was one of the features. I was very heavily involved with the DMVs, and in fact, one of the papers we released in 2005 timeframe, which is still people like it, is the performance troubleshooting with SQL Server using DMVs and everything, right? I think Joachim was involved, and we had a version of that. Anyway, so that was that. And then I moved to the compression technology, the row and page compression. That was a feature that I worked on. And then it was always on, then in-memory OLTP, and now the column store. So what I've been doing lately is I moved away from the development per se. I'm not really involved with developing a new feature, but I'm working with customers, mission-critical customers, to make them successful with SQL Server technology. So my focus has been ISVs, like healthcare ISVs. I just work with them at a much closer way. I mean, I have visited Epic many times. I've been having calls with them just to get involved with them in the ground level where they're developing an application and make that application successful on SQL. And guess what? If SQL is used by ISVs, all their customers will use SQL Server, right? So that is one angle. And also working with many customers. In fact, I have some examples today where it is more like a custom application. And I'm working with those guys to help them transition to new technology, for example, column store in this case. So pretty much that's what it is. Yeah, how do I modernize our customer base with the new SQL Server platform and the new features?
How so many people in Microsoft move from one, not even just one team to another, but to one product to another, and you've been in SQL Server the whole 10 years, it sounds like. Databases is where you're 15 years. Yeah.
So, I think, believe it or not, this is my 9th job. Microsoft was my 9th job. I moved around before I came to Microsoft, so I'm done moving. Yeah. So I actually feel the database technology is so awesome because it is evolving every day. So and the team is awesome. I mean, you actually, Brent, have been involved with SQL Server in a very big way. SQL Server has a very good team, and I actually enjoy working here. And I mean, over years you realize, is it a good place for you or not? And I feel it's a good place for me. So why move around?
God. And you've really seen in the last 2 years, 3 years that so many good people have gone up from the community into working permanently at Microsoft. It's been neat to see so many people get hired in and go, oh, I know that person. They're going to really succeed well.
Right.
And yeah.
No, that's right. Yeah. And I think it is the cross-pollination, if you want to say that, is very good because people coming from the customer side, they bring so much passion about and more like a real-life experience, right? I mean, my story has been this, right? If you hear about earthquake on the TV, you feel bad about those people, but you were there as part of the earthquake, rescue team. You have a very different passion about what it meant to those people. And I think people coming from the customer-facing organizations, they bring that kind of a passion that, I mean, I cannot possibly have, right? Because I'm not really in managing. So yeah, I think those things are very, very good.
Nice. Well, you're set up as presenter, so you should be able to share your desktop now.
Okay.
And then you can pick, if you've got multiple monitors, you can pick which one you want.
It's a simple one. So I'm going to show my screen. So let me see what you can see.
So we got the Chrome or Internet Explorer or GoToWebinar. I can't believe I said Chrome when a Microsoft person is online. Come on now, Brent.
Okay. How do I show my screen, right?
Yeah.
You can see
we can see Internet Explorer with the GoToWebinar thing.
What about now? What do you see?
perfect. We see PowerPoint. And you don't have to worry about, like, if the GoToWebinar window is in the way, there's a minimizing arrow. We actually don't see any of the GoToWebinar windows. So
And
if
how
it's
do I
not
minimize it? I go to File and Minimize? No.
Or there's a little arrow that points over towards the right-hand side. Or you can minimize the thing.
Above the microphone
I'm just trying to see where the
icon,
minimize
orange
is.
one.
Orange one.
It's on like a little hover.
I did it.
There we go. All right, cool. And then you can move the webcams too as well if you want. You can put them wherever you want. It doesn't like we don't see them. So
I'm probably going to bail out of the webcam for a bit. I'll be hanging out in chat if anybody needs anything.
All right, cool.
All right.
Thanks, Brent.
You bet. Good to see you, man. And Bert, are you sticking around for this one? Or are you bailing?
I'm gonna have to hop off. I'm gonna also be in the chat and watching off camera.
All right, cool. And how about you, Rob? You staying in or are you bailing?
I am going to bail as well on you. I'm afraid we're going to leave you all by your own.
I have him all to myself.
All right.